Hi, friends. Welcome back to Rapture and Chill. I'm Brooke, and thank you so much for being here. Holy moly, we've been at this for 6 weeks now. Can you believe it? I'm having so much fun. How was your past week, by the way? Good, I hope. Things are as weird as ever, but that's just par for the course for 2026. I ended up not feeling well yesterday, so I was in bed most of the day, but Stevie and I did finally watch Project Hail Mary this weekend, and oh my gosh, it was so good. I actually sat through the entire 2.5 hours without getting distracted by my phone or falling asleep. And honestly, that says a lot because my brain will for sure check out whenever I get bored. If you haven't seen the movie or read the book, don't worry. I'm not going to spoil anything major, but I am going to talk about the plot a little bit because it's actually relevant to our conversation today. Ryan Gosling plays a molecular biologist who's been teaching middle school science but gets recruited for a mission to save the sun because this alien microorganism called astrophage is draining its energy. But the movie starts out with him waking up on a spaceship with amnesia. So it's a pretty wild ride from there. But it's really interesting how that whole concept of the sun dying could tie into our topic this week. Not because the sun is actually dying, but because the universe is so out of sync and humanity is kind of just stumbling around with spiritual amnesia. People are desperately trying to remember who we are and where we came from and why are we even being hurled through space on this rock to begin with. Why does Earth keep going through these massive cosmic shifts and how are we supposed to navigate them? Last week, we talked about Deucalion and Noah and how they were guided to survive apocalyptic floods. This week, I wanted to take another look at Hinduism. And at first, I had planned to cover Manu and Vishnu, but that would have kept us in the flood theme, and that's not very ADHD. So instead, we're going to talk about the yugas or the ages of time. So get out of the water, you weirdo. What are you even still doing in there? This is episode 6, Wobble Baby, a one-legged race. Okay, guys, I'm sure by now you've noticed the recurring theme that pretty much no one in the ancient world saw time as linear. That seems to be a fairly modern idea in the grand scheme of things. We've heard of many different concepts of time, and I might have even mentioned the term yuga in episode 1 when we talked about Dharma, but I didn't go into depth. So this is how it breaks down. In Hinduism, instead of the metallic decline of the Greeks, like the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, they have ages of time called yugas. And since they view time as a cycle, these yugas are essentially like 4 repeating seasons of humanity. In ancient India, there was a very popular dice game, and the names of the yugas were actually taken directly from that dice game. The perfect or golden age would be the Krita Yuga or the Satya Yuga. Krita translates to accomplished or completed, and it's also the winning throw of the dice in the game. Think of it like a grand slam where the batter gets 4 points instead of just 1. Krita is a perfect 4. Satya means truth. So in English, these would translate to either the age of perfection or the age of truth. It's kind of like saying either the Victorian era or the Industrial Revolution. They describe the same time period, they're just referring to different aspects of it. The Satya Yuga would be like the Garden of Eden era when everyone was 100% good spiritually and morally. No one had been corrupted yet. Their connection to the divine was still solid. No worries. This is the longest yuga, by the way, lasting over 1.7 million years. Can you imagine humans being chill for 1.7 million years? These humans? No. But at the end of the Satya Yuga, a demon actually stole the Vedas while the creator god was sleeping. Remember, the Vedas are like the ultimate foundational holy scriptures of Hinduism. They're considered the cosmic blueprints. Veda literally just means knowledge in Sanskrit. So in order to get the stolen Vedas back, the gods manifested a massive fish to guide a holy king through an apocalyptic flood to protect the truth and reset the world. Sound familiar? I told you, they all have floods. After the flood, we have the Treta Yuga or the Silver Age. Treta translates to three, which I know is confusing because it's the second era, but it's like rolling a three on the dice. Think of it like a cosmic battery countdown: four, three, two, one. If Krita means completed, that means the battery is full at level 4. Treta would be level 3 or 3/4 full. At this point, people would have been a little disconnected from God or the divine, but they would have still been mostly good. But this is when people started to do rituals to maintain that spiritual connection. Rules were first created in this time period as well, because this was the first time that rules were ever even necessary. This is the era of the famous epic, the Ramayana. A huge 10-headed demon king named Ravana kidnapped a prince's wife, which led to an all-out war. This would be the first time in history that a war was fought in the interest of righteousness. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but again, I don't make the rules. The third yuga, just to make it even more confusing for everyone, is the Dwapara Yuga, which translates to two. This would be the equivalent to a Bronze Age. Things are getting way more personal now. Evil was no longer just something that humans had to fight against, it was part of human nature. People were becoming increasingly more dishonest. Disease and sickness became more prevalent, and that spiritual disconnect was really kicked up a notch. The Dwapara Yuga is the era of the Mahabharata, which is the longest epic poem in all of world literature. It tells of a massive civil war between family members who were fighting over a kingdom. It's basically 200,000 lines of family drama and battlefield philosophy. Can you imagine trying to memorize all that? They used to memorize this stuff before they wrote it down. The whole story is chaos, and because of the fact that things had gotten so chaotic, human brains couldn't even handle the full scope of spiritual wisdom and ancestral knowledge anymore. So the Vedas had to be split up into different parts to make the information more easily absorbed. But as the world gets crazier, people focus even less on their spiritual connections, which is part of this vicious cycle that leads to humanity being confused and lost on a really profound level. And that leads us right to the final era. Number 4 is the Kali Yuga. Kali means one, as in the one remaining quarter of battery life, or rolling a 1 on the dice, the worst roll you can get, obviously. People are at their lowest, and I want to come back to this in a bit and spend more time talking about this fourth yuga. But for now, suffice it to say, things are not groovy in the Kali Yuga. But what triggered the start of this era? According to the texts, the exact moment that the Kali Yuga began was at midnight on February 18th, 3102 BC, when exactly 36 years after that huge civil war ended, Lord Krishna's soul left his physical body and departed Earth. Supposedly, the second that his feet left the ground, the spiritual battery plummeted and that proverbial fog rolled in. People became very discontented and violent, which seems to still be the case. But anyway, we'll come back to it. The Kali Yuga is by far the shortest of the eras, by the way, and be glad because it's the gnarliest. Hinduism is really fun to study because there are so many different metaphors and analogies that make it all easier to understand. And I want to look at one more that paints a really stark image for us, and that's the bull. Remember in episode 1 how we talked about Dharma being like the cosmic law? Well, the bull is the avatar that represents the law of Dharma. So, Dharma the bulls, 4 legs, each represent a different pillar of righteousness. So, you have austerity, purity, mercy, and truth. During the Satya Yuga, he has all 4 legs. He's totally stable in this era. Everything's in perfect balance. But as humanity declines morally, he starts to lose his legs one at a time and progressively get more wobbly. Eventually, he's bearing the proverbial weight of the whole world on just one leg, and it's the one that represents truth. So in that final stage, the Kali Yuga, there will be an intense attack on truth. Deceit will run absolutely rampant, and the story of Dharma the bull ends with a prophecy. When the final leg of truth gives out, the Supreme Lord will descend to defeat the evil forces and restart the cycle. So Dharma will eventually get his legs back. That's great. But this is where the more serious conversation comes into play, because we're wobbling on one leg right now. And I want to dive a little deeper into what it means for us to be in the Kali Yuga. If you look at the ancient descriptions of the final yuga, it can get kind of eerie. They're super accurate. They describe a time when wealth determines your worth, and whoever has the most power gets to decide what's right and what's wrong. They even predicted that people would have shorter attention spans, which is probably the most relatable prophecy I've ever heard of because ADHD. The ancient texts say that people will be, quote, always looking for faults in others, and that, quote, pretension will be mistaken for greatness. And I want to talk about that for a minute. Pretension will be mistaken for greatness. What do you think that would look like in today's world? Could it look like people in positions of political power using religion to manipulate their constituents? Maybe a God bless the USA Bible or an AI image of a president is Jesus Christ. Religion and spirituality are not props. The Bible, the Quran, the Vedas, they all tell us how to recognize these lies and distractions, but people are so hypnotized by the theater of a reality television star holding up the Word of God that they don't even realize they're looking at a direct contradiction of the contents of that book. The biggest symptom of the Kali Yuga is the fog. And when truth comes under attack from every direction, the air that we breathe becomes foggy because it's filled with all of this noise, misinformation, gaslighting, cover ups, wars, natural disasters, multinational child trafficking rings. You know that old saying, there are three sides to every story: your side, my side, and the truth? Well, now there are 50 sides to every story, and they're all slop. The brain fog is real and it is hell to get through. I actually complained about brain fog for so many years that I thought my medication was causing it. I was changing meds and trying different supplements. I didn't realize until last year that the fog was the noise. That's what it does to us mentally and emotionally. It overwhelms our thoughts, our senses, our logic. You hear everyone say that they're overstimulated, and I know that's a buzzword now, but it's true. On a basic human level, we are all so overstimulated that it's making us feel crazy. But like I said last week, all that noise is like your desktop being cluttered by downloads. It's all distraction. Spirituality is at an all-time low. Our battery is almost out of juice. But this is what I want everyone to understand the most. Whatever stage we're in right now, the Iron Age, the Kali Yuga, the digital age, whatever, it's not permanent. This is a season. And just like we don't get mad at the winter for being cold or the summer for being hot, we shouldn't let the chaos of the world crush our spirits. And there's actually a silver lining in this whole storm cloud. And that silver lining is something like a spiritual exchange rate. This is a major concept in ancient texts like the Vishnu Purana. It's called Kali Mahima, which translates to the glory of the Kali age. Now, you might be wondering, Brooke, what in the world could possibly make this hellscape so glorious? Well, let me explain. You know how different cultures have their own versions of seers? They're in the Bible too, just think prophet. The Sanskrit word for a seer is rishi. In the Vishnu Purana, there is a famous debate among a group of rishis. They're basically trying to decide which era of time would be the best for making spiritual progress. Who would have it the easiest? So they went to their top guy, Vyasa. He's the one who actually split up the Vedas when humanity couldn't handle all that spiritual truth anymore. And when the sages find him, he's bathing in the river. So they just hang out and watch. No big deal. No privacy needed, I guess. So all of a sudden, he just pops his little head up out of the water, looks at the sky, and yells out, probably not in English, "Excellent is the Kali Yuga. Blessed is the Kali Yuga." And the rishis are like, "I'm sorry, what?" And that's when he explains the Kali Mahima, the spiritual exchange rate. He tells them that in the Satya Yuga, or the Golden Age, people had to work extremely hard their whole lives to reach enlightenment. So, meditation, fasting, detachment, good deeds, all the things that get you good karma. Remember how hard Buddha had to work for enlightenment? He almost died. But Vyasa said he envied the people living in the Kali Yuga because we can achieve in a single day what took them 10 years of sitting in a cave or under a tree to accomplish. Imagine that. Things can actually suck so bad that sages will literally look down the timeline of humanity and think, you know what? Yeah, I think World War III would be a pretty solid time to exist. Like, the world is so toxic that we get graded on a curve. Everyone's so dead inside that in 2026, if you're a decent person who values truth and treats people with mercy and grace, you might as well have a cosmic superpower. And I do fully believe that deep empathy is a superpower. You're like a tiny pin light in a dark room. You can still make a huge difference without needing to be a massive searchlight. All you have to do is shine the light that you do have, and other people will be drawn to you like moths to a flame, like a beacon. Truly, we have to reprioritize. If you've been noticing your own brain feeling a little extra foggy lately, I promise you're not crazy and you're not failing. You're just navigating the shakiest part of your journey right now. So take a deep breath, sit in silence, and let your light guide you through it. You have to actually do the chill part of rapture and chill. Well, I don't know about you, but Hinduism's teachings of navigating the yugas gives me an extra layer of understanding. And this is what I mean when I say studying other religions does not make me a bad Christian. If anything, learning how other religious groups view the same human struggles actually makes me feel even more connected to both God and humanity. It's further proof that we're all on different paths to the same destination. A Christian's path will undoubtedly be different than a Muslim's path or a Hindu's path, but we should still all meet in the middle at enlightenment. And the human experience is the one thing that we share, and the individual experience is that deeply personal part of the journey where we have to navigate our own way to the collective light of the awakening. So, when you're feeling weighed down by the thick fog of the Kali Yuga, how can you start to fight your way out of it? What's the secret? Well, the ultimate secret of life, in my opinion, is the law of attraction. And I fully believe that because I've experienced it. Think of your mind as a magnet. Your thoughts carry a literal frequency, and whatever frequency you're putting out into the world is what will manifest into your physical reality. It sounds like weirdo magic stuff, but I promise it's not. This concept is all over the Bible too, in the form of faith and spiritual warfare. Jesus said in Matthew 9, according to your faith, let it be done to you. He didn't say according to whatever is going on in the world. He said your faith dictates the outcome. In Proverbs, we have this little tidbit. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. In Philippians, Paul said, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is pure, think on these things. You see, your reality is a direct reflection of your mind. If you focus on the darkness and chaos of the world, you will manifest anxiety and despair. But when the Bible talks about guarding your heart and transforming your mind, that means you need to take control of your frequency and mindset. It's not just positive thinking, it's a spiritual alignment. It's choosing to anchor your thoughts in divine truth instead of earthly noise. We've been talking about control and letting go of that white knuckle grip that we have on every aspect of our lives. And last time I mentioned that in order to let go of control, you have to have faith in something. If you loosen your grip without faith that something else is going to hold you up, you will definitely fall. You have to know and also believe that if you let go, the universe has got you. God's got you. The divine has got you. Even if you struggle with the idea of a supreme God, you have the scientific view of quantum mechanics and this thing called the observer effect. It proves that on the tiniest, most microscopic fundamental level, particles change their behavior simply because a conscious mind is watching them. Our mindset literally influences physical matter. Energy follows attention. A positive mindset is not just a mood boost. It can effectively alter the quantum fabric of your day. When you wake up in the morning and the wheels of your mind start turning, make a conscious effort to correct your thinking. Be gentle with yourself, but when you think, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, or there is no way that I'm going to be able to find the energy to get through this day, correct it. It's not easy, but I'm so serious. Do it for a week. Make a real effort to replace each negative thought or vibe with a positive one. Practice gratitude. Count your blessings. As the good vibes become a more natural part of your daily life, you'll notice that you're starting to take care of yourself more too. Getting more productive sleep, eating better meals, thinking happier thoughts. Expect good things to happen to you instead of assuming one more bad thing is coming, and see if you start to notice things turning around for you. If you think I'm crazy, then prove me wrong. I mean, you won't because I'm right, but just try it. What's the worst that could happen? I want you to feel better. I want the world to start to heal. I can't stop wars. I can't light a bag of dog poop on fire at the front door of the White House. But what I can do is help guide my friends through the hell that is the Kali Yuga. If even one of you takes this seriously, then I'm stoked on that. So, what are we going to talk about next week? I don't know. I change my mind every week anyway. By the time I'm on like day 2 of researching, I've already changed the topic. So we'll see. But please make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and share the podcast with your friends and family. That'd be cool too. Until next time, you know what to do. Rapture and chill, but heavy on the chill. Good grief. I love you. Bye.